Christmas, the time of pretty lights and nice food sometimes and gifts, warm and fuzzy stuff, and also sitting around a table with a bunch of people who you avoid for the rest of the year for good reason. No, I actually luckily see people I do like, but I know for some people it isn't the case, and sometimes you're subjected to, you know, family drama, political talk that nobody asked for, things like that. So what better time to jump into the Am I the Arsehole subreddit, look at some neurospicy family Christmas related dramas. Let's see who we think was in the wrong in these situations. Am I the arsehole for kicking family out on Christmas over what they said to my daughter? I, 48 female, and my husband, 48 male, have 2 children. Randy, 22 male, and Eve, 19 female. Eve was diagnosed with autism when she was in elementary school. I say this every time, but a lot of autistic people, not all autistic people, but a lot of autistic people prefer to say I am autistic rather than I was diagnosed with autism, just because, you know, acknowledges that autism is part of your identity. It is who you are. You cannot really be separated. When she was in elementary school, she does online school currently and can do some basic tasks by herself, but me and my husband have to do a lot for her, cook for her, drive her places, etc. She recently started doing her own laundry, which we're very proud of her for, but it took 4 years of learning and encouragement. We love her and know we'll have to care for her. Okay, so she's 19 and it says Eve loves toys, especially like dolls and little interactive animal toys. For Christmas, we had my parents, my 2 sisters and their husbands, my one sister's 15-year-old daughter, and my mom's sister and her husband. Whew, that is a lot of people. That sounds like a lot at Christmas. There was no way you were getting out of that one without some drama. Randy got a few games that he wanted, so that's the son, plus a new laptop he needs for his classes next semester. Eve got dolls, a small dollhouse, some pajamas, some stuffed animals, and the big gift was an interactive toy horse that you could braid the hair of and things. Eve was overjoyed and played with it up until it was time for lunch. That's nice, that's lovely. I don't know what's gonna happen, but I just want to say, like, I hope one day we can live in a world where people are allowed to just enjoy whatever they enjoy, and there's no that's not age appropriate or whatever. Like, it's such a horrible thing, even as a child, like when you get towards the end of primary school and you have to kind of say, oh no, I never play with dolls, I never play with dolls, and you feel like such a sense of shame if you haven't grown out of those things and you aren't ready to leave those things behind. As long as you're not hurting anybody, you can be into whatever you're into, and that's cool. It's nothing to be ashamed of at all. I didn't notice anything before, but at lunch my mom was looking over at my sister Brianna and her daughter Marissa like they had done something wrong. I helped my daughter get a plate of food, got her a juice box, and went to get my own food. I then heard yelling and my daughter crying and went back to the table. Turns out Marissa had told Eve that she's childish and shouldn't want toys anymore and needs to grow up, and my sisters both agreed. Marissa told her that she should be braiding her own hair instead of a toy's and make herself pretty instead of making a toy pretty. Nobody should have to make themselves pretty. I disagree with that. I take issue with that. My mom and my father were horrified, and they had apparently heard Marissa and Brianna express this earlier and told them that they were being insensitive and will be in trouble if they tell me, my husband, or Eve that. Randy, the great brother he is, took Eve away from the situation and up to her room to calm down. That's very nice. I, as calmly as possible, explained for the millionth time that Eve is autistic, her brain works differently, and if you were with her daily, you would see that her toys actually help her to learn social skills, even if they didn't. Still valid for her to enjoy whatever she enjoys. We shouldn't be policing what other people like and calling it cringe and things like that people do. They help her to regulate her emotions and calm her down. Brianna then said that I baby her too much. We make meals for her, get her food, buy her toys, and drive her everywhere, when we should just force her to learn on her own. Okay, I don't understand why people think they could overstep in this way and think that it's their place to say these sort of things. Using the word force, there's alarm bells there. That doesn't sound particularly compassionate and particularly like she's acknowledging that this is an actual disability and will affect how Eve lives her life. Brianna said that because she does school, she's normal enough to live on her own, the exact words. Not nice, not a nice thing to say. Being able to do well academically is a separate thing, and it shouldn't always be seen as a good indicator of how much support you need in other areas of life. Autistic people can have these very spiky profiles, as they call them. We can be very, very good at some things and then really struggle with other things that people find basic. And that has been a big difficulty for my life. And then it can make it really difficult for you to advocate for yourself and to ask for support in other areas, because people are like, oh, well, you're getting great grades, so you must be fine. And that isn't always the case. Life isn't always just about academic achievement and how you score on an IQ test and things like that. I told Brianna, Marissa, and Brianna's husband to leave. My older sister and her husband tried to defend them, saying that if I just cut the cord, Eve would learn how to survive. I told them to leave too. This is a common thing that happens where parents of autistic children, often mothers, are made to feel like they're kind of smothering their child, and that's why they are the way they are. I've had comments suggesting that this is what happened to me on my YouTube videos. Lovely, but this is what you get, you know, when you put yourself out there in this way. It was something that, even though I wasn't diagnosed, my mom was told when I was growing up. When I struggled with school and getting very exhausted by the end of the day, and for a while they let me go home for lunch because my attendance was suffering because I just didn't want to go there and couldn't get myself in. I think to my mom, always when she had these meetings with the school, there was very much the implication that she was being too soft. She needed to force me to do more. She needed to push me harder, but she knew me really well. Even though I wasn't diagnosed, she was like, I know that there's no way. She's too sensitive. She would have seen it as at the time. She won't be able to cope if I do that. So she didn't listen to them, luckily. And my mom's, you know, she's not autistic and she's not a PDA, but she's an artist. She has a bit of a like independent streak, and she was just like, nah, I'm not listening to your nonsense. But it probably did affect her and did weigh on her a little. And I think she did find it upsetting at the time that there was often this implication that it was her fault, that her parenting was making me the way that I am. The 22-year-old son, who I'm assuming is allistic, not autistic, they're not saying the same things about him, so if it was really to do with her parenting, wouldn't both of her children be in the same situation? I mean, maybe they're implying that she parents her daughter differently, but it's very likely she parents her daughter differently because her daughter is autistic and her son is not autistic, and that is the thing that came first. It wasn't the parenting that made her autistic, and I think people really need to remember this. You know, this was a theory way back in the day, that it was bad parenting that caused autism. That was kind of originally what people thought. We know that that isn't true, and that it's innate to who you are as a person. I don't know, I just think the person who lives with her every day is probably going to be more aware of her struggles and what she can cope with. Probably not always going to be true, but probably. And it probably isn't your place to say anything, particularly if you're being this mean. My husband is with me, as is my father, but my mother said I took it too far by kicking them out and saying I'm never letting them around Eve again. They really hurt Eve. Luckily, she's still playing with her toys, so they didn't seem to ruin her love of them, but she's been sad and crying all day. I just put her to bed and started crying myself once she wasn't able to see me do it. She sounds like a really lovely, protective mother, and I'm very glad that Eve has that. It's important to consider the impacts of what you're saying and how that might affect somebody and how that might affect somebody's mental health. These things that people do, our interests, the things that autistic people like, can often be really, really comforting for us and help us to cope with other things in life that we find difficult. If you strip that away and force somebody to be more grown up or whatever, you could seriously damage their mental health. And at the end of the day, does it hurt anybody if she plays with this toy horse? It sounds like it only has a positive impact. If you think that it's too childish and you don't want to look at it and it makes you uncomfortable because you find it unusual that a 19-year-old's playing with this toy, you kind of need to grow up and get over yourself a little bit, I would say. The mum kind of clarified a few things. I got Eve her food because she has pretty severe motor delays. She's about the level of a 5-year-old. Okay, I'll maybe come back to like using ages things to describe people, because that doesn't make me personally feel entirely comfortable. I don't know how you feel about that, but I know it is something that people do quite often. I don't have severe motor delays, but I have dyspraxia. Having difficulties with movement is very much associated with autism if you have a look at the research. So yeah, there are reasons other than just she doesn't want to and she's been coddled too much that she may struggle to do things. Normally, I try to let her get her own food, and if she makes a mess, I clean it up. But since there were platters of food, think buffet style on a kitchen counter, that if she spilled, she would make a hazard on the kitchen floor where people could slip. You don't have to justify yourself. If you want to just get some food because you want to be nice, then that's fine, you know? I'm sure a lot of mothers still run behind their 19-year-old sons in particular, like either gender, but mums and their sons, it can be a bit of a thing. I'm pretty sure there are many parents who still dish up for their children for whatever reason. You don't have to feel like you have to justify yourself and come up with like a big reason for why you needed to do it. It's fine. Your children are your children, you know? We've worked with specialists since Eve's diagnosis to figure out the right way to both care for her and foster independence. I don't know what the comments say, but people may be kind of saying maybe you're not giving her enough independence. From some testing last year, specialists believe Eve is a level of a 4 or 5-year-old socially. I always struggle with like, how do they measure these things? Surely like 5-year-olds differ so much in how social they are, and it's kind of just, I don't know, I guess it's just a rough idea. 5-year-olds motor skills, and academically 14. My handwriting is a 5-year-old's handwriting. There are people in my son's class who have better handwriting than me by far. The problem is she doesn't appear to have the cognitive ability to apply what she learns in school to the real world. For example, Eve could read a book and identify a character as mean because they don't understand, but she can only understand that my sisters and my cousin are mean but not really why. Language fluctuates from non-verbal to verbal with language capabilities of a 2-year-old to verbal with the language capabilities of a 5-year-old. Academic ability is an outlier, but specialists don't seem too alarmed by it, so we aren't either. On this whole mental age thing, in the year 2000, the British Psychological Society, the BPS, said, in practice, some clinicians are known to use child developmental scales or children's intelligence tests to profile aspects of intellectual functioning of very disabled adults. The practice of referring to mental age when reporting on the level of intellectual or social functioning of adults should be avoided. I think mental age feeds a perception that people with learning disabilities are like children. These infantilizing discourses are not only offensive, I think they are also dangerous. They also risk leading us to view that people with learning disabilities should be treated like children and should be accorded similar legal rights to children. And then there's also a quote that says, there is a lot more to being older than improving one's IQ scores. One accumulates life experiences, responsibilities, desires, and outlooks which are influenced by a range of developmental, social, and generational factors. There is no need whatsoever to use mental age to describe the functioning of adults in psychometric tests. If you are doing so, ask yourself why. Why do you want to feed a perception that the adults you are working with are children? And does this influence how you and others value their legal capacity, liberty, sexuality, and their other legal rights? Yeah. So regardless of whether this person is diagnosed with a learning disability or what their situation is, I think that's valid just in terms of, you know, mental age. I don't think it's necessarily particularly helpful. I think it would be fine to just say she needs support. She needs support with these things. Somebody said, not the arsehole, you're protecting your daughter, and hey, maybe cutting the cord with your sister's family, you'll force them to learn some empathy with 9.1k likes. Thank you, Reddit. Thank you. I like it when Reddit's on my side because often the commenters aren't. If you watch some of our previous ones, agree. OP is her mother and knows her child, and when she's ready to move on to other things, same as the laundry, they will know. Everybody's basically saying in the comments that they agree that this parent was not the arsehole. I feel like this is quite an easy one to say not the arsehole. There's maybe potentially a little bit of a risk of infantilization with this whole mental age thing, but maybe this isn't the way the mother actually thinks about their child. It might have just felt like an easier way to kind of explain their child's difficulties on here, and it sounds like it's what she's repeating from medical professionals. Hopefully that will kind of change over time and we'll get to a point where we see disabled people as whole people who are whatever age they are. It's just that people of all ages are different, and that's okay, and have different levels of ability in different areas, and that's okay, and have different interests, and that's okay. I don't know if she just threatened to kick them out or if she actually kicked them out, but yeah, either way. Christmas is supposed to be a fun time of the year. You shouldn't have to spend it with people who don't respect you, clearly don't respect you, and don't respect, you know, you knowing what's best for your child as a parent. Yeah, get out, get out. I agree. The next one, oh no, this is feeling a little bit like the Squishmallow one that we had, where some Squishmallows were thrown in the bin, but not quite as sad. Although maybe it is for some people. Am I the asshole for not punishing my son for opening limited edition Doctor Who sets? My son, B, 14, is autistic. His special interest is Doctor Who. He's been obsessed with the show since he was about 3. I've seen one episode of it once. I had a friend from ballet who only stayed at my ballet for about 5 minutes, and I think I went to her house once and she played an episode of Doctor Who, and then I never saw it again. Not really my thing, but as I said, you're free to be interested in whatever you want to be interested in. Naturally, his room is Doctor Who themed, and he has several Doctor Who toys. My husband and I, brackets B's stepdad happily indulge his interest. Sounds very nice. He doesn't really understand the whole concept of figurines and plays with them as one would toys. It's fine as long as they're yours. You can do whatever you want with them, I would say. Some people might disagree. Make sure to buy him good quality figures that won't cost us a fortune, because he'll probably destroy the packaging and lose their props. B's father, who recently got back into his life and is also a fan of Doctor Who. As such, he was pretty excited to buy him things for Christmas. We explained that he should buy anything that can't be used as a toy. He should buy, that he shouldn't buy anything that can't be used as a toy, I think that means. So no collector's items or anything that would have to stay in the packaging. He said he understood. Come Christmas, he bought our son 2 limited edition collector's figure sets, which definitely cost a bit. My husband and I were a little apprehensive, but we didn't say anything. It was explained that they weren't toys and had to stay in their packaging. Our son didn't really pay attention to them, but occasionally I caught him staring and shaking the boxes. A week ago, he asked me if he could get them out just once, promising he'd put them straight back. I explained that they were expensive and shouldn't really be played with, but they were his, so he could do what he wanted with them. He got them out, and true to his word, he kept the packaging nice and puts them back whenever he's finished playing. Obviously, my ex wound up, it always makes me laugh when Americans say wound up, we don't say that yet, finding out and blew up at me over it, saying I shouldn't have let him open them because they weren't toys. I explained they were his and he could do what he liked with them. Yeah, I think once you give a gift to somebody, you can't control what that person happens to do with it. He's insisting I punish our son for not following the rules. Could this dad be autistic? What do we think? I'm not sure we can diagnose him based on this, but I wouldn't say he's definitely not autistic. Let's just put it out there, saying if he'd have known B wouldn't have looked after them, he'd have kept them for himself, which is rich considering we told him B would probably take them out of their packaging. My husband thinks we're in the right, but family members think we should do something because our son did get clear instructions not to open the boxes. But I thought you said he asked if he can get them out, promising to put them straight back. So he didn't get clear instructions. He was told he was allowed to open them. What? Was there like an implication? Like, oh, you can get them out, but you probably shouldn't. A lot of autistic people kind of can be quite literal, so if you kind of say, yes, you can get them out, they'll hear, yes, you can get them out because that's what you said. I don't know. I mean, I think this is very clearly, to me, a not the arsehole situation. I think if you get a gift for somebody, you can't have expectations on it. Once you've given it to them, it is theirs to do with whatever they want and to use however they want. And it doesn't matter. If I get a gift for somebody else, they can do whatever they want with it. I don't care. Like, it's yours. I'm giving you something for you to own. That is the point of a gift. I love it when people really appreciate what I got, when people give me feedback, when I see people wearing clothing items that I got, but I don't want them to do it just for my benefit. I only want that if they do genuinely really like the thing. Maybe his dad is autistic as well, and we can be quite particular sometimes. Not all of us. Some of us might be quite particular about rule following, about keeping our stuff nice. For me, my mom buys a lot of like sticker books for my son. You get these books where you have stickers. They'll have like pages and pages of stickers, and then they'll have other pages where you're supposed to stick the stickers. Just something about it feels so wasteful to me. And when I was a child, stickers were like such a special thing. For me, like stickers was something I put on a letter or I made into like some sort of nice project or something. I don't know, like it wasn't just I'm gonna slap these stickers on a page. Like sometimes these books do have like build a picture with these stickers and whatever, but my son would often have like a blank piece of paper, that's just like a piece of printer paper, and just be sticking sticker after sticker after sticker on pages and pages of printer paper, which is probably just going to end up going in the bin relatively soon. And that kind of stresses me out because I'm like, it's just so wasteful. Like all of these plastic stickers on pieces of paper, certain things like that, they can kind of get under my skin. And I do get funny about like wanting my son to keep his things nice. He has, you know, nice dinosaur figures and stuff like that. I don't like them getting marks on them and things like that, but I, you know, try and remind myself they are his things. He owns them. He can do whatever he wants with them. You know, if he doesn't look after his things as carefully, then that's his business to some extent. Obviously, as a parent, I try and inform him that if you do that certain thing, it's going to break that. You don't want to do it and give him the reasons, but I'm not necessarily going to try and control how he treats his own things. But yeah, I can understand sometimes it gets under your skin. And I think, yeah, to a certain extent, you know, like I don't like the wasteful sort of world we live in where people just see things as so disposable, and I think it's nice if you know, really look after the stuff that you've got, and I always do try and really look after my stuff, and it does really matter to me. So when other people don't treat my things as well, like as a child that used to stress me out with my toys, and you know, I think that is to some extent an autistic thing, being quite particular, wanting to keep all of your stuff under your control and safe. It can be anxiety inducing for us when we're not able to keep our stuff safe for whatever reason, which which is why the Squishmallow Am I the Arsehole that we did was so stressful. But yeah, at the end of the day, I don't know, I think it is up to him. Like, he didn't ask for collectors items. He's not building a collection. The dad should have listened to the mom if the mom did express herself as well as she said she did in this post. But regardless, I don't know, maybe he just misunderstood somehow and doesn't know his son very well because he's not been in his life, and assumed that he didn't play with his toys. But autistic people can play with toys. We don't always just want to line everything up in a cabinet. Sometimes we might want to touch things. We might want to stim with toys, you know? Not the asshole. You let B's dad know what would happen and he still went with it anyway. Also, once you give someone a gift, it's their business how they use it. Yeah, I agree. As long as they're not harming anyone with it. Yeah, exactly. As long as they're not bashing someone over the head with his Doctor Who figures, we'll be okay. Like, your son seems to be playing with it carefully. I know, it seemed really sweet. Like, he was putting everything back really carefully. And he actually asked permission as well. He didn't go and do it behind the mother's back, you know, just like open them all on the sly, and they walked in and there was just carnage of all these boxes ripped to shreds. Like, he obviously is trying to be careful and respect his stuff. I don't know, at the end of the day, people might disagree who are really into collections and stuff, but like, at the end of the day, it's just stuff. It's just stuff. It's here to be used. He is being much more careful with them than his other toys, honestly. I never understood the point of leaving something in a box anyway, the OP has said. Exactly. I mean, it's fine if people want to do that and people want to collect and keep things in a box. That's fine. I can see that. A lot of autistic people, we do like collections that can kind of be like one of our special interests. When I did the video on special interests and not what you think, I mentioned collections in there. That was one of the categories of interest that had come up in the research that I was talking about. Not every autistic person does it, but it's completely fine. If you like collecting things, if you like keeping figures in their boxes, if you like buying dolls and keeping them in their boxes, I can see the appeal of it. When we go to the toy shop with my son and I see all the like the new dolls, they have like the Monster High that weren't around when I was younger, because I had like Bratz dolls when I was younger. I'm like, oh, they are really cool. I would maybe like to have them, and I'm like, where would I put it? Where would I put it? But I can certainly see the appeal of having these collections, and I think that's fine. Someone replied, it's an adult thing, not a child thing. The dad bought himself an adult gift and expected his child to take good care of it like an adult would while he borrowed it. Oh, I mean, I don't think he saw it as borrowing it. Was he planning to go and take it back at some point? I don't know what it was. Maybe again the dad was assuming because of his age that he wasn't going to be playing with it. Maybe he didn't listen properly. I don't know. There's obviously been some sort of miscommunication somewhere. Maybe he did actually just want them for himself though, and he was kind of, you know, jealous or whatever. Or maybe he felt like, but these are so nice and so high value that when my son sees them, he's just going to want to keep them in the box. I'd be interested to know from anyone who does collect figurines. People who collect the Funko Pop things and keep those. Like, you see it all the time with stacks of them like still in their boxes in their room and things like that. How do you personally feel about this? But I would say not the arsehole, not the arsehole for either of them. That's good, I suppose. If you want another Christmas related autism video, I have one reacting to Christmassy autism TikToks. Some that were cozy and cute from actual autistic people, but some that were, you know, not so cute. There was a puzzle piece, autism awareness Christmas tree, that kind of haunts me. I can picture it now. And then there was also an autistic Christmas tree that was an actually autistic Christmas tree. It's Battle of the Christmas Trees. I'd love to know what you think of that one. If you've seen everything on this channel already, or everything that you're interested in, but you would like a little bit more from me, then I do have a Patreon. I'll leave it linked in the description. For the lowest tier, which is $4 US or whatever the equivalent is in your currency, you can get 2 exclusive videos every month and access to the Discord server community. And then there's more stuff available for higher tiers. There's hours worth of podcast episodes and stuff on there. Go and have a look and see. No pressure to join whatsoever, and it still really helps out the channel if you subscribe on here. Thank you so much for watching. See you soon.